All right, good morning, everyone. Oh, well, actually, it's afternoon, isn't it? So, how about good afternoon, everyone? I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and this is Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune from Monday, the 15th of October, 2018. Numerologically, we're looking at a 7. 15 reduces to 6. Added to the 1 and the 10, that reduces to 7. So we have a 7-day. So one about, well, how I like to see this is about 7's about divinity, it's about balance, it can mean the shadow side of self. But like to look at it as a point of rest, where if you can imagine, a 7 is expressed in a scale, okay? You've got 3 on each side, on each pan, and then in the center you've got the 1, so that's 7 total, right? Well, in a sense, if you're the one in the middle, then you're holding everything in balance, aren't you? So maybe today we think about how is it that we're holding our world in balance? Something to think about. I'm going to shuffle a little bit more, and while I do that, I want to talk about something that I had an encounter on the Stepping Aside's Facebook page about a geomancy reading that I posted. I do those once a month at least. I do a tarot reading for the month, and then I do a geomancy reading as well. I like geomancy. It's an interesting type of divination method. It's from a long time ago. Cornelius Agrippa used it. Various folks used it. Magicians have used it over time, in addition to astrology. It's just another method, like runes. They're essentially, runes in a sense. However you do them. Some people use pebbles. Some people use sticks. I use both sticks, and I also have discs that I've made that I use to create the chart. But the question that he asked had to do with the fact that he and his girlfriend, I guess, had a geomancy reading done, and it didn't. Whatever it said, it isn't what happened, or perhaps they came to it with the notion of, I need to know this and this about that or something. It's not that divination tools like tarot and geomancy and runes and whatnot, it's not that they can't give you an idea of what's coming. I personally don't like to do them that way, though. Just like with the tarot and rune reading we're going to do now, I look at them as influences. It may not apply, to whatever you're thinking about. So if, say, you're thinking about, am I going to get that job? Well, the cards may indicate no, but that doesn't mean that you won't. It just means that there might be, something to think about. Maybe give yourself a little pause before agreeing maybe to take the job. So sometimes these things don't always pencil out the way we think they will. I've wanted to know certain things in the past, and it'll come up with something totally out of the blue, different, having nothing to do with what I'm talking about. And so, and then later on, maybe a few weeks later, I'll come back and I'll think, well, wow, that really was telling me something that I needed to know as opposed to what I wanted to know. So without knowing anything about the experience this person had, I just wanted to throw that out there, that when you're looking at divination tools, if you're looking at them to give you a precise information about something, maybe they will, maybe they won't. So I just like to look at it in terms of things to think about and maybe energetic influences that might be affecting something. And so, because at the very end of the day, we create our own experience here. It isn't the cards telling you what it's going to be. You're going to create that experience. And the whole idea of doing divination work is just to give you a little more information when you're making decisions, or when you're kind of paying attention to seeing what's going on, what's really going on. Maybe it'll suggest to you that there's more to the story. And so then it teaches you then to maybe look a little further, And so I hope that I hope that whoever did that reading for those folks didn't send them too far astray. But but I know it. But he asked the question, "Is this real?" Well, you know, everything is as real as you want to make it. Um, you're either going to find a message in what you're doing or you're not. And if you're not, maybe you will in time. Maybe the universe is suggesting that you might be interested in this, you might be worried about this, but really you need to pay attention about maybe something else. So like I say, I just like to look at these all as influences and just something to think about and pay attention to, not necessarily something that is hard and fast. And in any way, I'm sure you all know this. I don't know. I felt kind of bad for him, and like maybe they sent him in a direction that they shouldn't have gone, or something. I don't know. He really didn't elaborate, but I mean, not a little bit he did, but not much. And so I hope that he's found some peace with whatever it was. And anyway, uh, but anyway, I just wanted to say something about it, just in case maybe other people have had that same experience. I would just encourage everyone to look at divination methods as just energetic influences that could be affecting a situation that you're thinking about, but that maybe not. Everything is about probabilities. It's not, nothing is ever really carved in stone. It might feel like it sometimes, but it really probably isn't. And so, again, possibilities, something to think about. That's how I view all this. So let's count 13 and see what we have for today. The cards are sticking together. Well, we have the World, which is the last card of the major arcana, number 21. Numerologically, it reduces to 3, or catalytic energy, wholeness, unification. Here, the Fool has completed his journey, his or her journey, because the Fool is actually an androgynous individual. So, but here we've reached completion. But you see that the wreath is never ending. You see the lemniscates, the infinity signs, both on the top and the bottom. The cycles are never ending in our life, aren't they? And so once we finished, we begin again, don't we? We continue on. Some would say with ascension, we're realigning our DNA codes so that we're able to just simply move on without having to die and return and all of that. Because that's kind of what we're caught in right now, is a dying and returning. That's why we reincarnate. And we just seem to keep doing and keep doing it and keep doing it, don't we? Well, ascension is we're reaching that point where we don't have to do that anymore. And so however that will happen, um, instead of coming back to do it again, we're going to continue on exploring more aspects of the Creator in form. But we have the purity of the experience as we move on into something new. We transmute into something new. But let's see what the rune has to say. The thing about major arcana cards is I view them as the higher self tapping us on the shoulder, saying, remember me, remember who you are. And we're to think about different soul archetypes and the notion of being eternal, the eternal nature of self. Um, we've sort of been cut off from that for a while, but that's ending. And so we should be in a much better place spiritually in terms of our awareness of who we really are, as we ascend into new dimensions or new densities, whatever that's going to look like. We're supposedly in that energy stream right now. So whether, however we're going to do that, it's not so much about the return. It's about the progression onward. And at some point, see, and supposedly now we're in the time where the shift is moving away from the whole reincarnation aspect and moving into the moving on soul wise, intentionally, you know, into other experiences. Well, here we have I was, and this is as above, so below energy. And that basically reinforces the notion of moving on spiritually. We've experienced, and it doesn't really make any difference if it's a reincarnation experience or if it's one where we're actually ascending and moving on into new dimensions and new densities and new experiences having nothing to do with this same, process that we've been going through. Um, I was is the 13th rune of the Elder Futhark. I like to look at 13. I was born on the 13th, so Saturday was my birthday. And I view 13, things seem to happen to me in 13s. I don't plan it that way, it just does. So I guess I've always viewed it as a master witch number. We have master numbers of 11, 22, 33. The dual numbers are considered master numbers. I don't break down 2018 into the day's numerology. I don't include it because that actually reduces to 11. So that's a master number for illumination. And so I look at the year as a year of illumination and revelation and revealing the darkness and exposing, the seedy underbelly of life in form, so we can take a really good look at it and understand that this is not the direction we need to go. That is a horizontal type of experience. It is a horizontal plane experience. It's one that you're only basically being informed by ego and the personality. Spirit is cut off, and so we reincarnate back in, and we don't understand the lives we've lived. We don't understand and remember without going into meditation or raising our frequency to the point that we can actually start remembering those past lives and those past existences that we've had. All of it is relevant, to every lifetime lived, and they're all happening at once. And so, if you think about that, it's kind of mind blowing, when you think about the majesty of it all and how profound it all is. But what we have to understand is what makes that so is spirit informing the process. If it's just left to ego, then we don't live in service to others. We live in service to self. And so that's where, you get the whole law of one comes into play, which is a concept that is throughout all of the universe. It's not just here. It wasn't something that was just channeled here. This is a concept that everyone understands, universe wide. It's a consciousness experience, the law of one. It's a reality. It's a truth. If the creator is all that is, then there is the only law of one, correct? Right? So Awaz comes in, and Awaz reminds us that, or Iwaz reminds us that we are spirit informing this process. Okay, it is the as above, so below connection between higher and lower selves of upper and lower kingdoms of self. So when we observe for today, being a 7-day like it is in this year of illumination, we want to think about the cycles that we experience, and are we simply redoing the same way, or are we learning something in the process, and are we breaking out of the cycles that we seem to just get caught up in? My husband and I were just having a conversation on the way home. We had to go take a water sample in for our water association, and we were talking about how people that are wounded get stuck in the wounding to the point that whoever has hurt them in the past will forever be attached to that wounding. We can't ever see that the wounding is no longer happening. So we still perceive that person through the eyes of that initial, wounding point, I guess. And we don't ever stop to think that at every moment we are creating our present moment. So if we choose to stay stuck in memories that are painful, you know, and no matter if it's true, you know, we're seeing it correctly. If we sit in the midst of it, then it affects our ability. We're basically at this point, spirit is no longer informing, because if spirit was, spirit would be going, what are you doing? And just forgive and move on. You know, see that we're all here just trying to make our way, and we're not perfect at it, and sometimes we harm others in the process. And you know, when we really understand that we've done that, it's a horrible thing, and we all know that, right? Well, we have to allow for that with somebody else. And so maybe that person was in a weird place in their life, or a bad place, or a place where, you know, they weren't together enough to really know how to interact properly with others, or maybe they were going through a difficult time. If you bring everything down to little moments in time, in other words, then you're going to be repeating the same cycle over and over and over again, right? If you wish to break out of it, understand that there is only the present moment. The past is always subjective, and even if you get it right, what good does it do to do that? All you're doing is bringing something that is no longer happening into the present moment and having that affect everything, okay? So if you want to break out of the whole, you know, lemniscate experience of it all, you know, then you have to be able to let spirit inform, and let the I was inform the moment, so that you understand that spirit is informing this process, so that you stay in the creative aspect of self versus the reactionary aspect of ego. Okay? There's self, okay, which is spirit, and then there's ego. All right. So there's the difference between the two. And what I was is explaining to us by coming up here in the rune bag today, which I just love when it does, is it's reminding us that if we want to break free of the destructive cycles of the ego that we get stuck in, that we need to allow spirit to inform that process. So in this day of balance, on a 7-day, this 15th day of October, ponder that and see how it resonates in any event. Thank you so much for coming by today. There's a little subscribe button somewhere down there. If you would click on that, that would be awesome. Come back. I'm here Monday through Thursday, unless something happens. That's why I titled it Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune, because sometimes things get in the way. But usually I try to do this in the morning, so I get it posted in the morning sometime. Today it's almost 1 o'clock, and so it's going to be posted in the afternoon. So I'm sorry about that. I'll try to do better tomorrow. Anyhow, come back tomorrow if you like. I'd sure love to have you. And have a wonderful day. Be kind to yourself always. Be kind to others. And blessed be.